Hello. Today we're going to talk about how to use the shell button in OnShape. So we're going to end up creating a Lego, and that Lego will be hollow in the bottom because we've used shell. Shell removes material from a part to create a cavity of constant wall thickness. You can either have a hollow object or you can remove a face to create a cavity with an opening. Here's what that means. Let's say I open OnShape and that I have a vase right here. Let's say I want to shell out the vase. This is the shell button. You can see it shows the picture with constant wall thickness, and that as I hover over it, it says create a hollow thin walled part by removing one or more faces and specifying that thickness. So I can do so by selecting the faces to remove and then specifying the wall thickness for those parts. So as I click here, you can see that it's going to remove whatever faces I click, like this, and then shell out the rest. And you can see that I can tip it out and see now I have like a hollow vase shape. If there were more surfaces, you could hollow out more surfaces, for example, the top and the bottom, if there was a bottom to this vase. Or you can just make it like hollow inside with no openings. For example, if you click that you want the whole thing to be hollow, and you choose the part you want to hollow, you can't really tell that it's hollow, but if you change it to translucent over here, you can see that you've now created like a hollow object with no opening to the outside. So that's also an option you can do. So today we're going to start by drawing a Lego. So I'm going to create a new part called 3-1 and then my name. And I'm going to make sure that I have a empty tab to create my Lego on. I have other tabs open because I had that example, but you might only have one tab open down here. And we're going to create this shape. This is what a Lego brick actually looks like. And we're going to start by creating this Lego brick in millimeters. So we're going to change the document units to millimeters. I'm going to do so by going over here to my drop-down unit and go to Workspace Units, change it from inches to millimeters. Perfect. My next step is to create the basic Lego brick shape. So I'm going to draw on the top plane because I'm imagining the top view of the Lego. I'm going to choose my center point rectangle so the center of the Lego is right at the origin. And a regular Lego brick is going to be 15.8 by 31.8 millimeters long. And I'm going to extrude it upwards to a height of 9.6. Great. So that's my first step. I've created and extruded my basic Lego brick shape. The next thing I'm going to do is use shell to hollow out the bottom of the brick. So as I use shell, I'm going to make the wall thickness 1.9. So as I shell it out, I want the bottom of my brick to be hollow, which is why I'm going to select the face to remove as this one. See how that makes like the top a solid brick, but the bottom kind of hollow. So I'm going to make my shell thickness 1.49. So the little pieces that fit into here, the little nubs, actually have a space apart of 1.5. And the fact that this is 1.49 instead of 1.5 is what lets them fit together so tightly. If you've ever tried to put together Legos and you're like, oh my god, these are stuck together impossibly, that is why. The next thing we're going to do is create a nub on the top. So I'm going to create a new sketch on the top surface, and I'm going to draw a circle. Being careful not to lock the circle into like along this axis or along this axis. I just want my circle like randomly off in space somewhere. And the diameter of my nub is going to be 5 millimeters. Perfect. So we want to create a pattern of nubs across the top. Luckily, we've already just learned how to create a circular pattern. So let's place this nub in the correct spot. 3.9 this way. And 3.9 this way. All right, and as I pattern this nub, I want to place them. Oh, And when I pattern it, I'm going to choose feature pattern instead of part pattern because this is a feature or sketch. The direction I want to pattern it, I'm going to start by patterning it along this axis to create my next nub. See how it's all the way over here? I want it to be closer. These nubs are actually going to be 8 millimeters apart. Perfect. And then I want to pattern it in a second direction. I want to pattern it along this axis to create another set of nubs. And I want there to be 4 of them in this direction. Oh, it looks like they're going the wrong way, so I'm going to flip it that way. There we go. And the distance between them will be 8. Perfect. Now I have a pattern of 8 nubs. And I'm going to extrude those nubs to a height of 1.7. Perfect. All right, now I have the nubs on the top of my Lego. The next thing I want to do is to create a spot on the inside. Because if you've ever seen the bottom of a Lego, there's like little like divots that these kind of fit into. And I want to create circles that perfectly mesh with these inside divots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new sketch on the bottom surface of my Lego. And I don't want to have to like redraw all of these circles. That would be a giant waste of time. So what I'm going to do is click this Use button, which will project my previously done, see how it says if I hover over it, project edges or faces of a part onto the active sketch plane. That's exactly what I want. I want these circles here. As I click, you can see it's taking them from the top. It's projecting them here onto the bottom surface. So the circles were drawn on this surface, but now we've drawn them like this far down on this spot right there. See how it's like projected them right there? So now I can create, oh, I forgot one. Let me see if I can click this guy right here. There it is. Perfect. All right, so now I want to look at it from the bottom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a set of circles that's going to like perfectly fit in between these. And in order to do so, I'm going to create circles of like just a random size and then use this tangent button. And as I click this circle and this circle, it'll make them just perfectly touch. So now my new 3 circles here can be extruded. And that's what's going to create like the little spot inside for the next like Lego to nestle into. So I'm going to extrude these on the bottom. And you might wonder, how far do I extrude them down? Let's take a look at our diagram right here. As we look, you can see that these are extruded down a depth of 8.1 millimeters. That makes sense because the shell thickness right here is 0.49. The height of this is 9.6. So we're going to extrude down a depth of 8.1. Awesome. So now we have sticking out of the bottom these little nubbies right here to kind of mesh with the other side. All right, let's hollow them out just like on a real Lego. The next question is going to be how thick should I shell each of them? Let's take a look at our picture. You can see that this right here, this is kind of what we're looking at for these circles. And you can see that the wall thickness right here is 0.5. So I'm going to shell this out. I'm going to click each of these to create an opening. That's where my opening is going to be, and my shell thickness is going to be 0.5. Perfect. So now I have these hollow nubs, just like on a real Lego. I'm going to add chamfers and fillets to the outside edges. So once again, if you were to look at a real Lego or at this diagram, you might notice that there is a chamfer on the outside corner right here, and fillets. So let's take a look at our picture and see if we can see the radius of the fillet, and the size of the chamfer. Do you see it? I know I do. I see the fillet right here has a radius of 0.5. So as I click this, each of these edges, it's going to round each of these edges 0.5. Perfect. Do I do the other edges? Yes, I do. This guy, this guy, this guy. And then the next one. There we go. So I've filleted the edges so that you don't stab yourself on this Lego. And then next I'm going to add a chamfer to each of these rounds. So looking at the picture, you can see that the chamfer is described as being 0.2 in each direction. So I'm going to add a chamfer as well. Chamfer, and I'm going to click the top surface of each of these circles. Equal distance, because it showed them being equal distance in the picture. 0.2. Perfect. All right, next thing I want to do is make it look like a real Lego, and I'm going to do that by altering the appearance of this part. So this right here is the part I've made. It's called part 1. As I right click, I can change its appearance. So as I click Edit Appearance, I can change the color of the entire part. I'm going to make mine a red Lego. And then the next thing you can do, this is kind of cool, is to assign your material. So if you right click and say Assign Material, you can choose what material this would be made out of. And this is a kind of plastic. Specifically, this is called ABS plastic. So I'm going to scroll down here to ABS and set it to be ABS plastic. And this is kind of cool because now that we've set the material, over here we can look at this part's volume, its surface area, and its mass. So we can see how heavy in grams would this be if it were actually to be produced out of this material. This is going to be super helpful later when we're 3D printing stuff to know how heavy things should be. Nice work. Our next mission is to share. So if you've never shared something before, there's the share button right here. You can see share this document. And share it with your instructor. You can type their email in right here and give them the opportunity to either edit or view your document. Nice work, guys.